Emily and Sophia were two kindred souls whom fate had brought together. They met while studying at different faculties of Columbia University in New York. Emily was studying architecture, while Sophia was majoring in literature. Their first encounter took place in the library on a warm autumn day. The sun filtered through the windows, illuminating the spines of dusty books on the shelves. Emily was searching for resources for her architectural design project when her eyes fell upon a young woman deeply absorbed in her book. The woman's long chestnut hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her slender fingers gently turned the pages. Emily gathered her books and approached the table. "Excuse me, may I sit here?" Emily asked, her voice slightly trembling. Sophia looked up and smiled. At that moment, Emily noticed the deep green of Sophia's eyes for the first time. "Of course," Sophia replied, her voice carrying a soft melody. Emily sat down and opened her books, but her eyes kept drifting to the young woman across from her. She tried to glimpse the cover of Sophia's book. "Virginia Woolf," she murmured unconsciously. Sophia looked up in surprise. "You like Woolf too?" "The Waves," said Emily, "perhaps one of the most profound books I've ever read." The conversation that began that day lasted for hours. By the time they left the library, the sun had already set and the campus lights had come on. Both felt intoxicated by each other's presence. They exchanged phone numbers and agreed to meet the next day. Over the following days, weeks, and months, they delved deeper into each other's worlds. Emily introduced Sophia to the world of architecture, while Sophia guided Emily through the depths of literature. They spent hours under the oak trees on campus, in cafeterias, along faculty corridors, and in small cafes tucked away in the city's back streets. However, both sensed a different depth in their feelings. When they looked into each other's eyes, there was an unspoken meaning, an attraction that was difficult to define. Initially, they hesitated to name this feeling, to acknowledge it. By the end of their second year at university, on a spring evening, they were walking along the Hudson River. Seagulls flew overhead and the distant sound of ferry horns could be heard. Emily gathered her courage and took Sophia's hand. Both paused for a moment. Then, Sophia intertwined her fingers with Emily's. No words were spoken, but that moment marked a change in their relationship. Throughout their university years, they grew closer. They became each other's confidant best friend, but they kept their relationship secret. They were afraid of judgment from their families, friends, and society. When alone, they talked about their fears and concerns. "Will people ever understand us?" Sophia asked one night, lying in Emily's arms. "Even if they don't, does it matter?" Emily replied. "We know isn't that enough." As graduation approached, both could no longer suppress their feelings. One evening, sitting under the magnolia trees on campus, Emily gathered her courage. "Sophia," she said with a trembling voice, "I need to tell you something, but I'm not sure if words will be enough." Sophia took Emily's hand. "Sometimes words aren't necessary," she said softly. "Some things are better expressed through looks, through touches." Emily took a deep breath. "I love you, Sophia. I feel so much more than friendship. Every morning when I wake up, you're my first thought, and every night before I sleep, you're my last. When I'm with you, I feel completely in place in this world, as if my entire life has been a journey to find you." Sophia's eyes welled up. "I love you too, Emily. From the first day I saw you in the library, something stirred inside me. Since then, this feeling has grown every day. Being with you is the most beautiful, most right thing I've found in the world." That evening, under the magnolia trees, they fully opened up about their feelings. Both were concerned about societal expectations and what others would think. But the beauty of their feelings was powerful enough to overshadow these concerns. After graduation, they went through a challenging period. Emily started working at a prestigious architectural firm, while Sophia became an editor at a publishing house. They lived in different neighborhoods of New York, meeting only when they could. Their jobs, relationships with their families, and societal pressure sometimes overwhelmed them. One evening, after a tiring day at work, they coincidentally met in Greenwich Village. A light rain was falling, and the wet sidewalks reflected the city lights. Emily took Sophia by the arm and pulled her into a cafe. "I can't live like this anymore," Emily said, with a determined glint in her eyes. "I want to see you every day. I want to wake up with you, sleep with you. I want to build a life together." Sophia's eyes sparkled. "I want that too, Emily, but how?" "Let's live together," Emily said. "I found a small apartment in Brooklyn. It's close to the river, an old building but warm, intimate. Let's be together now, no matter what." That night, they made their decision. A month later, they packed their belongings and moved into the small Brooklyn apartment. On the first evening, with boxes still unpacked, they opened the balcony door and drank wine facing the Manhattan skyline. Both felt more free, more happy than ever before in their lives. But the challenges didn't end. Emily's family accepted that their daughter lived with a roommate, but they soon sensed the truth. Her mother was cold and distant on the phone. Her father didn't want to see her anymore. Sophia's situation was even more difficult. She came from a conservative family in the Midwest, and they thought their daughter was deviant. They rejected Sophia, saying they never wanted to see her again. It was painful, but both believed they could weather this storm by holding on to each other. They also faced challenges at work: gossip, whispers behind their backs, sometimes open discrimination. Every day brought a new battle. However, both were successful in their careers. Emily rose through the ranks at her firm and began working on significant projects. Sophia gained respect in the literary world through the books she edited. Over time, their success overshadowed prejudices. Years later, they both gathered their courage to pursue their dreams. Emily opened her own architectural office, while Sophia started a small bookstore called Love Street. As they succeeded in their businesses, they gradually stopped hiding their relationship. The Brooklyn apartment became too small for them. They needed more space for both work and personal life. Emily found a small house by a lake near the Catskill Mountains. It was an old fisherman's cabin that needed complete renovation. But Emily's eyes sparkled. "I'll make this a paradise for us," she said. For 6 months, they went to the cabin every weekend. Emily redesigned the house with her architectural knowledge, while Sophia took charge of the interior decoration. They painted the walls in light blue tones and decorated with seashells and pebbles. They planted lavender, thyme, and daffodils in the garden. They placed 2 rocking chairs on the porch, where they could sit and talk for hours, overlooking the lake. Finally, on a spring day, the house was ready. They moved their belongings and spent their first night there. The lake was like a silver mirror under the moonlight. Emily and Sophia sat on the porch, each with a glass of wine, admiring the view. "This will be our sanctuary," said Sophia, resting her head on Emily's shoulder. "No," corrected Emily, "this will be our palace, our kingdom, our paradise." They began spending their weekends in this lakeside house outside the city. While walking along the lakeshore, they would hold hands and make plans for the future. They started growing vegetables in their garden. In the evenings, Sophia would read her poetry, and Emily would sketch. Sometimes neighbors would visit, and they would dine together. The neighbors were distant at first, but over time, they began to see the beauty of Emily and Sophia's love. One autumn day, during a picnic by the lake, Emily gave Sophia a carefully prepared gift. Inside a small box was a necklace with 2 half-heart pendants. "One is incomplete without the other," said Emily, "just like us." With tears in her eyes, Sophia put on the necklace. Then she took out a small notebook from her pocket. Inside were poems she had written for Emily over the years. Each page told a different memory, a different emotion of their love. "Since the first day I saw you, I've written a poem for you every night before bed," said Sophia, her voice trembling. "Some remained unfinished, some were never completed, but they are all for you, all for our love." Emily took the notebook and opened the first page. There, in Sophia's elegant handwriting, was a poem. "Like a book in the library, squeezed on a shelf waiting. You came and opened my pages, gave life to my words. My story began with you. Every line is being written with you, and my final sentence will end with you. By the lake at sunset." Emily's eyes filled with tears. This is the most beautiful gift," she whispered. As the sun set over the lake, both knew that loving each other was the most right decision they had ever made in their lives. Society's prejudices, family reactions, challenges at work, none of them could weaken the bond between them. Years passed. Emily's architectural office grew and began taking on nationwide projects. She became renowned especially for her environmentally friendly, sustainable architectural designs. Sophia's bookstore became an important center in the literary world. She discovered new writers, organized literary evenings, and also operated as a small publishing house. As they grew, society changed too. The glances they once feared were now replaced with acceptance, even admiration. Emily's family, seeing their daughter's happiness, softened over time. Sophia's family was more resistant, but her younger brother took steps to reconnect with his sister. They completely renovated their lake house and moved there permanently, commuting to New York for work. They planted 2 birch trees in their garden, like us, growing side by side, Emily had said. As years flowed by, their love matured and deepened. They could now read each other's every expression, gesture, and look. Sometimes they would sit for hours without speaking, just feeling the peace of each other's presence. Strands of gray appeared in Emily's hair, and fine lines formed around Sophia's eyes. But when they looked at each other, they still felt the excitement they had experienced on that first day in the library. On a winter night, a storm was battering their lakeside home. The wind howled at the windows and waves crashed against the shore. Emily and Sophia sat in front of the fireplace, wrapped in thick blankets. 20 years had passed since they met. 20 years filled with challenges, struggles, but above all, deep love and passion. "I want to ask you a question," said Emily, holding Sophia's hand. "If you could turn back time, would you choose the same path to be with me?" Sophia smiled. "1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, infinitely I would choose you, Emily. You are my destiny, my poem, my story. Every moment spent with you is the most precious moment of my life." Emily took Sophia in her arms and held her tightly. "You are my inspiration, my architectural masterpiece. We built this life together, brick by brick, with love, with patience." The wood crackled in the fireplace, and outside, the storm continued. But the warmth inside them was too strong for any storm to extinguish. In the house by the lake, the love between 2 women continued to grow, despite all the difficulties, perhaps even nourished by them. Their story wasn't just a love story. It was a story of courage, of being true to oneself, and of how real love can be stronger than prejudice. And this story would echo forever by the lake, on stormy nights, sunny days, and starry evenings.